Hi, everyone. I hold on. I'm not in my space. Leroy is still not here. He will be here in a couple of minutes, but I typed it in the chat, but I decided to go ahead and go live so we aren't super late. Before I have Geno and Shane introduce themselves, I wanted to put John up here. John is more income. And last week during the show, John bought 10 people gift memberships to my channel, which is absolutely amazing. So I just wanted to say a big thank you to John. I think that is amazing to share that out. So I had some new people in my store reviews, my necklace, listen, and I am sick if you hear my voice. Dalton has brought us home yet another surprise from school. So apparently he didn't have immunity and neither did we, which means I don't go out enough. Leroy says I didn't send him. Now he's in and doesn't have the link. So I am sick again, unfortunately, but thank you all for coming. John, again, I did message him to thank him, but I wanted to thank him publicly as well for buying those gift memberships. So I'm going to go ahead and let Shane and Geno introduce themselves. Oh, look, he's here.
Sorry.
Okay. No, you're fine, Leroy. So now I can let all three of the gentlemen introduce themselves, and then we have a ton of questions already in. So here is Mr. Shane.
Hi, everybody. I'm Shane. I have an interest in reselling business that focuses entirely on Lego. So if you didn't realize before, Lego grows in value. So after they stop getting manufactured, it starts to go up in value on eBay and Amazon. So I've made my business specialize particularly in Lego investing. And it's quite substantial holdings in Lego right now. I've got 6 figures invested in Lego, and we do good numbers every year. I teach people how to do it on a YouTube channel called Brickbucks. So if you're interested in learning more about Lego investing, that's where you can find me.
You can't hear me. I'm like talking and nobody could hear me. Here is Mr. Geno.
Well, hi, everybody. My name's Geno from Geno's Finds. And on my channel, what I do is I take all you guys on a little ride along with me to different thrift stores and garage sales. And wherever I can find a bargain, that's where I'm heading. I also put a little twist on my channel because I make it like you're with me and you're not just watching me, you're actually in the car with me. So I think that's pretty cool. Also, I hope you come over to my channel and watch. And I don't have as many subscribers as Kat, but I'm only 70 away from 2,000, so I'm getting there. And I also do updates too, so that they're a lot of fun. And one more thing before you turn me off, Kat. And in my videos, I try to add humor. I hope you think it's humorous too. So in every video, there's 3 or 4 scenes where hopefully funny stuff happens. And that's it.
All right. Perfect. Here's Leroy.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Leroy, Blood, Sweat, and Sell. I sell tools on eBay. I also sell at flea markets and swap meets. On my YouTube channel, it's mainly just lives. I don't do much other stuff on that. I do stuff on my Instagram.
Hold on, I'm coming. I'm slow tonight, Leroy. You weren't here. I don't think I've told you I'm not feeling well, so I am a little delayed. Katie reads. If you guys do not know Katie reads, Katie is in the background helping me since Julian is not here. You don't see her. She's muted. She has the baby, but she is graciously helping me. So definitely check out Katie Reads as well. She is a great channel. So I actually took screenshots because people were asking questions at like noon. They were really, really early. So you guys know, if you put a question in before 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it gets erased. But luckily I was in because I was uploading the new intro. So I saw them and I screenshotted them. So the first question was from Renee of PA. Does anybody but me sell on Whatnot?
No.
No. Okay, so I will answer this one. She said, when you sell on Whatnot, can you use a regular printer for your shipping labels? So the answer to that is yes. I do use a Dymo, but you can use a regular one and cut it out just like you would on eBay. If you had to use a laser printer, you can use whatever you have. And the next one is for all of us. She said, I heard other resellers talk about ending some of their listings and doing sell similar, claiming this reboots and increases their sales. What is your opinion of this?
Yeah. I've actually experienced that, and I'm pretty sure, like, it's hard to prove that this is definitely the cause when your sales spike. But I've experienced it where, you know, we have let things end, relisted and seen a spike. eBay likes to see activity on your account, so it likes to see, you know, consistent kind of listings, new stuff being uploaded. And if you let things go stale for too long, it will start to get deprioritized in the search results. So when someone searches for stuff, you won't be at the top, but newer listings will, and resellers who are constantly listing will get prioritized by the algorithm. It's not the only thing that matters, but it is one of the things, at least from my experience, that I've seen can help.
I hear a lot of rumors about eBay, and I don't believe half of them. But I was on eBay one time, they were doing a live, and they said after 9 months, all the items that are 9 months and older become non-productive. That's what they call them. So I would think if you cancel them, end them, and either sell similar or relist, it sure can't hurt. So I do it. Anything older than 9 months, I end, and then I just relist it.
What I do is I have bins that go in 25 number increments. So what I do is I'll go every day and I'll grab one of the bins and I'll see what's left in it. Is there 9 things left in it? I'll check, make sure they're all still listed, because that happens to me sometimes where they just bump off. And then what I'll do is I'll end them, relist them, and then I'll add another 10 in for the day. That's the way that I like to do it. And honestly, that's been working. I'm probably selling like probably like one or two a week from what I relisted is selling, and I couldn't sell it for months before that.
So I'm going to go against what all of them said because I don't do it and I don't believe in doing it. And the reason for that is I tried it with like 150 of them just as a test. And I did only try it one time and I didn't see any results. And there's kind of a couple of reasons. So for me, I'm always listing new items. So I could see doing that if you didn't have new items, you know, to keep your store fresh. I always have new inventory. And I send my offers according to how long the item's been listed. So I want to know if it's been listed a year or 2 years, because I'm going to send them 25 or 30% off, versus if I ended it and relisted it, sorting by date would not help me with that. I would just see the date that I reposted it. So for me, though, I'm having a lot of new activity because I'm constantly listing new items. So I'm like, I don't do it. I would rather focus on getting my death pile listed versus spending time ending and relisting stuff I already have. And I have a lot of stuff that is older than 9 months sell. I have a lot of stuff sell at a year, the 2-year mark. So I still get the sales from it. It might help. And if you're not doing other stuff, I think it can't hurt. I think it's going to give you activity, which they like to see. But in my experiment, my one experiment of 150 items, it did not get me any sales. So I am going against the ship tonight. All right. Another question that came really early was Miss Elizabeth asked, do you print and send a packing slip with each shipment?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, we do. Depends on what platform you're selling on, but some of them have requirements for that. Particularly if you sell on Amazon, it's a requirement. If you're selling merchant fulfilled, if you're selling fulfilled by Amazon, they will do it for you. With eBay, I don't think we actually do it for eBay. I'm not sure if we're breaking any rules there, but we don't do it for eBay, and we don't get slaps on the wrist, or at least we haven't yet. But definitely for Amazon, it is not something I would play around with.
I don't send anything out, just the item. Every once in a while, someone will ask, please put a bill, a bill of lading or something in there so I can know where it's coming from. But I've sold thousands of items and no one's ever complained. So no, I don't do it.
Yeah, same as me.
I do on eBay. I sell 90% on eBay. So sorry, Leo.
No problem. Same as me. I only sell on eBay, and I do not use a. I just send my regular item, and I just use the regular label. I don't do a packing slip.
Yeah, and I don't include a packing slip either, but I also am almost 90% eBay. I also don't for Poshmark, Etsy, Mercari, or whatnot. I use my Dymo, so like that would just be a ton more printing. I know personally, I typically don't look at them if it's personal purchases, and most auction companies do send the invoice. So if I were doing more to like resellers, I feel like I would, but just for a typical buyer, I don't think anybody looks at it, and it's online, so they can view, their bill online at any time. I'm putting John up here again because I was just told John bought more people memberships. So you might have gotten a free gift from John as a membership to my channel. The cool thing is YouTube's just started where you can buy memberships for other people, but you can't pick who it is. So you just have to say, I want to buy a random person. So it's kind of like a luck thing. If you get, I think it's probably somebody in the chat is how it works. Last week, Katie and Scott Cha-Ching both got memberships. They were my guests, which was pretty cool. But yeah, so that's a new feature YouTube has, and John is using it. All right. Miss Cora says, Kat, I know you're anti-auction for the most part, but how do you determine when something should be auctioned versus buy it now? And I think we could all answer this one.
Yeah, there's a few different things that I look out for when making that decision. I think firstly, if it is a new item that is, sealed and is, has tons of comps, I'm not doing an auction. I'm doing a buy it now. In fact, I like to do buy it now whenever I see a lot of comps in general. Also, whenever it's not a collectible, super rare, kind of a niche item, I lean buy it now. I prefer to do buy it now wherever possible. If it is something that kind of feels a lot more exclusive that, you think that you might get a bidding war on, that's where I start to consider auctions. But 95% of stuff for me is buy it now, unless it is, something that I think will definitely get a kind of a war going.
With me, 99% is buy it now, but every once in a while I will put an auction, and it has to be an item that's rare, maybe only 2 listed. Well, let me give you an example. The other day I went, it was one of my big buys for that week. I bought these Thundercats figures. It was a whole bag of them for $5. So I started to look them up, and they were, $20, $15. I said, it's pretty good. So I listed it on auction for $99. And it's a good idea because I was going to list it, buy it now. A guy offered me $150 for them over auction. And another guy 20 minutes later offered me. I said, wait a minute, I have something here. Well, they ended up selling for $375. So sometimes auctions work, but it's got to be something that people really want, and it's kind of rare.
Yeah, for me, 99% of the time, I do not use auction. I feel that buy it now works for me. If it's something that I'm not sure about what it is, then I'll just put the price up a little bit and just take offers on it. But I don't use buy it now. I don't use auction, sorry.
So I have something here I'm going to put on auction. That's why I was rummaging around on my desk. And I want to show you, and I'll tell you why. And I'm the same as the guys. I'm 99% buy it now. But these are antique, Native American Indian spearheads. And some of them sell for like $300, $400, $500, but I don't really know which ones because I'm not a collector and I'm not going to spend that much time researching. So what I'll do is list them individually, maybe start them at $10 and then let the collectors look at them and they can decide, is it a $10 spearhead? Is it a $50 spearhead? Did I get lucky and get a $500 spearhead? But there are a lot of Native American collectors. So I'm echoing what everybody said. It needs to be rare and it needs to be in demand. So I actually haven't run an auction in over 2 months. So it's very, very rare. Or if you want to really get rid of it, Just start it at the lowest you're willing to take. If that's $10 or $20, don't try starting it at $1 because then, unless you're going to be happy with $1, and after fees, that's like 50 cents. So that's why I'm anti-auction, because the society now wants it and they want it now. They don't want to wait. So unless it's something rare they can't find anywhere else where they have to wait for your auction, they're going to go somewhere else and find it, buy it now. So that is the big thing. Is that Christopher? It is Christopher. Christopher says, what a great panel tonight. So everybody, Geno that is down there made the dolphin that all of you love so much for me. So thank you again, Geno. So Christopher, here's your dolphin courtesy of Geno. Thank you, sir. And Christopher, I buy Chit, also contributed over $500 to the thrift battle to the winner. So he is absolutely amazing as far as supporting the community. It went to my good friend George. I came in a close second, about 2% in votes behind George, but there's nobody else I would rather lose to. So I'm happy for George. All right. I think only one of us really needs to answer this. Margaret is saying, how do you get eBay to remove a defect after they determine it should not be there and it was a mistake? So she's saying on October 13th, they said it would be 24 to 48 hours for it to be removed.
Yeah, I would just chase them down, Margaret, to be honest. Whenever it comes to any support team who told you that you are right, but they're just snoozing on resolving it, just be persistent and keep pushing on them. So I would respond back every day until they resolve it.
Yeah, and I agree. You're just going to have to bug them. And they might have been 24 to 48 business hours, Margaret, which might not have started until yesterday. So it might be tomorrow that you see it, possibly. Very, very possibly. Where Pigs Fly Farm says, I love the show. Is anyone else confused by the promotion amount for eBay auction items? Sometimes it's $1.99, another time it's $5.99. Shane, do you know the answer to this? I think I know the answer, but I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I think it goes by category, but I'm not sure. Cat knows.
See, I thought it was price. I thought it was price for the auction because I noticed, like, if I start stuff at $9.99, it's $1.99. I think it's price, but I'm not positive. And I don't think you can pick. I think it's like a standard for either the price point, or Geno might be right. It might be by category too. I don't do enough auctions to really pay attention and see why.
And you can't change the amount they say.
Yeah. Mr. Jeremy says, what's your favorite and least favorite sourcing method?
Oh, interesting. I'm going to probably be a little different here because my business is primarily Lego. I do sell other things like books, and I've kind of done a lot of online arbitrage, but Lego is my favorite thing to sell. So my favorite method of sourcing really is new items in box at great prices. So that is kind of, taking advantage of big sales and cash back and credit card points and a lot of different ways that we use to get great discounts on Lego sets, and then holding them for a while, because when the value starts to go up, that creates the profit margin, right? So you try to buy it at a good price, but then the profit margin gets created as it grows in value. So that's definitely my favorite way to source. My least favorite way to source, so we did bulk books for a while, which was, getting pallets of used books off a truck, and you're kind of using forklifts in a warehouse and those kind of things. And it's the kind of thing that's just a ton of work to actually sift through the bad stuff so you can get to the good stuff. And I know that that's kind of always something we got to do as resellers, but the volume you got to go through as a bookseller is a lot. So that's probably my least favorite.
The best way I source is I go to Goodwills. I must go to 25 Goodwills a week. And that's where I find the best stuff. Now, the cheapest stuff, yard sales. That's the best way, because it's cheaper than Goodwill, so you can't beat that. Or estate sales. Me and Kat were talking before we came on live. And that's what I do.
Honestly, mine is estate auctions. I go on auctionzip.com. I look for an auction in my area within 150 miles, and I buy in bulk that way. My least favorite is Goodwill.
So my favorite, I think everybody knows, is online auctions. I haven't used AuctionZip, to be honest. I don't think. But I have about 5 sites I use for auctions. That's my favorite way. My least favorite would probably be retail arbitrage. I'm not a big like clearance kind of person. And a lot of that has to do with where I live. And I like vintage, older, one of a kind stuff. I don't kind of gravitate towards new stuff. So for me, that is why. All right. Miss Pame says, how do you determine the price you are going to sell something for if there are no comps?
Yeah, so that's a little bit tricky. I mean, for vintage items, I'm sure some of the other folks can answer a little bit better. For me, when I'm looking at Lego and different things, I will try to find some history online, basically, about the item. I would look up some forums if it's kind of warrants that kind of depth of research. Actually, start to Google it basically and try to find out more information about it. If you can draw some sort of parallel to what it was worth when it was around, like when it was available in stores, if it's a kind of a vintage item, then you can start to get somewhere. Also check other marketplaces for comps. You always want to look at stuff that actually sold though, so you got to be careful with that. If you cannot find any sort of hint of any comp ever of a recent sale, then you could maybe look at some listings and see what other people are trying to get for it. But just pay note that, you know, if those auction or if those listings are ending without being bought, maybe the price is too high, so you might want to go down a notch from there. But those are kind of some ways to start off with, at least.
Wow, that's a tough one because if it's all according to how much you think it's worth. If you think it's worth a lot of money, then it's worth your time to invest in it. But you know, sometimes you'll research for 2 hours and find out it was worth $20, and you go, "Wow, what did I waste all my day for?" So, how I'll start though, if that's what you want to know, I'll use Lens, and if that doesn't work, I'll go on to Google and search it out there. I mean, there should be somewhere or somebody that's selling something similar, and that's the best you're going to have to go by. Brand name, see if that guy's famous, and then you can base your price on that. But it's tough if you can't find it, and it's happened to me.
Like those guys said, I'll look up Google and I'll check and see if I see anything about it. And I'll just price it high. Have come across where I've comped something and I didn't like the price, thought it was too low, so I didn't put any names in it. I just put what the item was, and I changed changed the all the words in it, and actually sold it for more than everybody else was getting for it. So I mean, you just got to be creative sometimes as well.
Yeah, so I would say one, if you're picking it up and you're newer, I would leave it at the store. If you cannot find a comp on it and you're new, I would not pick it up. If you have experience, so like like Geno said, you feel like it's something that's worth money, which could be like a material. Like I know jade sells high. Doesn't matter what it is as far as jade, and I might not be able to find the exact item. I'm going to look for something similar. If there is a brand, if it is like a carving, I'll look for other carvings of like if it's a phoenix or whatever the statue is. I check Worth Point. Worth Point has a 10-year history, but you can find something similar. There's nothing out there that doesn't have something kind of similar to it where you can look at it and kind of get a price point. But again, if you're looking at it and buying it, like most of the stuff I can't find comps on, I got in auction lots. Like I didn't buy that specific item on purpose. So I would say leave it if you can't find a comp and you're not confident it will sell for good money. And be careful being confident. Like I even still make mistakes years and years into this. So I don't pay up for anything I can't find comps on. I'm very, very picky about that. And you could, if you feel like it's valuable and rare, you can always try an auction and start it at the lowest you're willing to take. That's like those spearheads that I have. It's going to be hard to find the exact iron spearhead that I have. So I'm just going to put them on auction and let the buyers decide. at a little bit more than I paid. So I would like barely make a profit if I get one bid, but they could go really high. Miss Jan wants to know, what do you think about wholesale?
That one I can't really answer. I don't know a whole lot about it, to be honest.
I went to the wholesale website. They sell things in bulk for resellers, and that's all I can tell you. I didn't sign up for them.
This is the first I've heard of it, so I cannot answer this.
So I work with them in conjunction for my Death Pile Destruction Facebook group. And wholesale is where I sell all of my thrift boxes from my other YouTube channel, from Cat's Treasure Hunting. I think it's a good opportunity for sellers who want to move stuff in bulk. And like, I have talked with the co-founders of wholesale. Like, let's just say Shane wanted, like, he could get good deals on Legos and he didn't want to sell them on eBay or hold on to them. He could list them on wholesale to other resellers. So it's almost like you could create a different business model around it if you could source enough stuff to offer it in wholesale lots. I tried some clothes. They did sell. Not as fast as I wanted, because if you know me, I don't like descriptions. I'm like, I am not putting every brand in there. So if you're like me and don't like doing that, it can be a little harder, especially with clothes. I did grab bags of vintage hankies on there, and those sold well. I think jewelry would do good on there. If you do clothing, I think you need to have good name brands for people to want it. And I think buying, you could get some really good deals. Like, I sold my hankies at $2, which is cheaper than you could get them at most antique malls, and they sell for 12 to 15 each. So you're making, $10 profit on each. So I think it could work on both sides. It just really depends on your business model. For me, I'm just trying to offer some stuff. Like I said, the clothes kind of bombed a little bit for me just because of how I like to list. But the vintage hankies have done okay, and people have asked me to do jewelry. So it's a newer site, and I think people are just hearing about it. So I think it will grow. I like the concept of it. I saw on Instagram they went to somebody's garage sale today or yesterday, and they like convinced her to list everything on wholesale, and they even boxed it all up because she had like good name brand clothing. So the co-founders are really invested in it and trying to get it growing. I think it could, like I said, I think it could be a different business model. And if you're like me and can't find, not like me, I can find inventory. If you're in a rural area like I am, where local inventory is hard, that could be a good place to find stuff. It just depends on what you want to do. All right. Miss Jan says, do you have a niche?
Yep, for me that's Lego, as I mentioned. I'll just keep talking about Lego as much as possible. It's that's where we focus, but we have done other kind of things, and online arbitrage is an area that we've done a lot of, and that's all sorts of different niches. But primarily we like to focus on Lego, just to really specialize down in it.
Well, for me, I have one niece and two nephews. Oh, a niche. Oh, well, toys. I wanted, when I first started doing this, I wanted to get into art pottery. Can't find enough. So what it ended up is I sell toys. So I guess toys are my niche, even though I'm not an expert at it. I sell a lot of them, and a lot of Disney stuff too.
I'd like to be able to say I don't, but all I really sell, guys, is tools. I do sell other stuff. I have been getting into some Christmas wrapping paper. But I 99% of my stuff is tools, and I love it.
I absolutely do not have a niche in any way, shape, or form. Now on Whatnot, I have a niche. I'm doing jewelry, so I'm only doing jewelry on Whatnot. But other than that, everywhere else I do everything. This is kind of a loaded question, Linda. How do you, and I'm going to go ahead and field this. How do you do an auction? It's just a choice that you choose, either auction or buy it now on eBay. Why do they charge you? Because they charge you for everything. They're spending millions of dollars to advertise your product, to get it out there. They're also giving you millions of buyers, so you have to pay for that. And if you don't have a store, do you get so many? You get, sometimes they'll do promotions on certain categories. So like auctions in the collectible category, you might get 200 for free or whatever it is. But it's just a choice. Like if you're listing, you choose auction or buy it now. And like the charging, and that's one of my kind of irritation points. I'm happy to pay fees. I'm making $17,000 a month in sale because eBay gives me this audience and a customer base internationally. They promote my items and I'm making that income because of them. So I kind of get rubbed the wrong way when people complain about fees, because if you had a retail store, you would be paying for rent, you would be paying your lights, you would be paying extra for advertisement. So you will not hear me complain about fees. Just a little FYI. All right, Kristen says, what is the risk of selling to a zero feedback buyer whose account was open in 2018? The item is heavy and $125. I added signature on delivery, but I did send it and I am worried.
Yeah, I think everyone's going to have a different perspective on this, and it really comes down to your risk tolerance. And some people will just, shy away from selling to zero feedback buyers. For me, if it was a zero feedback seller and I was the buyer, I probably wouldn't do it. But as a seller selling to a zero feedback buyer, I would do it unless it was obvious. There was some obvious other weird stuff. So if it was open yesterday, that would be weird to me. But also if there was some, strangeness in the name of the account or different things like that. You could check if they have any items listed as well. That might kind of show you that it's a legitimate person. But yeah, I tend to be okay on this side, but I can understand why someone wouldn't want to sell to that buyer. You're also going to have some level of protection with eBay, but it's not always perfect. So I can understand why you'd be a little concerned. For me, I would go ahead with it, but that's just my opinion.
If it's cheap enough, yeah, I would just send it. But like a couple of years ago, I had a 1 ounce gold coin. I would not send that to a zero buyer. And also I look up their name. And if, like, say their name was, I'm a robber, well, then, you probably shouldn't sell to that person. But usually I think, no, it's a tough call. But if it's a $20 item, he's got to start building up sometime if he wants to become a regular eBayer. Oh, yeah.
For me, most of it doesn't come in at most of the people are not zero, but some of my biggest items I've sold have been really low feedback, and I feel that it's because it's searched off they're brought in through another avenue through Google or something like that. So it really doesn't bother me much because some of my biggest sales have been from really low feedback buyers.
Yeah, and it doesn't scare me at all either, because I buy as a guest sometimes when I don't want Brad to see what I'm getting. Most of the time it's like his Christmas or birthday presents. And when you check out as a guest on eBay, you have zero feedback. So I know I do that. And like, if you see my real eBay, I have over 4,000 feedback, but to the seller, they see me as a guest with zero feedback. And it's probably like user, blah, blah, some ridiculous name. And I've never had a problem selling to a zero feedback buyer. So I really don't think you have anything to worry about. This next one, I do not know the answer to. I don't know if any of you do. Molly's asking, as a seller, is it no longer possible to see who is following you on eBay? So she's saying she's found a number of like how many people are following her, but it's not telling her who.
I've personally never seen that list of usernames or anything like that. I don't know if the others have.
I don't think there's a list. I know how many people follow me, but I don't know. I've never seen a list.
I thought a while ago that you used to be able to see who was following you. But as of now, I really don't even look at that, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I never pay attention, but Marcia, Red Cardinal Treasures, which she is in the chat. She's helping me moderate tonight. She said you cannot see their names anymore. I've never looked at them. And honestly, before I created YouTube, I don't think I really had that many. Now I have almost 7,000 followers on my eBay store. So, but I've not seen the name, but Marsha's saying you cannot see it anymore. This is kind of a loaded question, Sue. So I don't know if people will answer you because people might get their feelings hurt. She's asking, who do you follow on YouTube and what have you learned from them?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I get like, so one of the things that comes to mind is when I first started reselling, Reezy Resells, who I'm sure a lot of people out there have seen, was a big introductory kind of channel for me because I was learning how to sell books, used books specifically, and going heavy into that niche. And a lot of his earlier stuff, if you go back through his YouTube channel, Reezy Resells, he has very vlog style book selling content. And so that was a channel that really stood out to me that I learned a lot from. What have I learned from him? Yeah, I learned about the ropes of book selling, and that's Amazon book selling specifically.
I don't follow any one channel that much. I mean, the bigger channels I'll tune in to see what they're doing. But even the small channels that you never heard of can sometimes teach you something you didn't know. Every man is my superior in so much as I can learn from him. So just go around and look at thrifting channels, and I guarantee you'll find out something you didn't know before. That's what I do.
Yeah, I don't have any favorite channels. I have too many friends. So I just feel that I do learn from everybody. Sometimes you don't learn good things, you learn bad things. So if there's something that you're not comfortable with and you've seen somebody else do it, but you're not sure about it, then you've learned not to do it.
Not to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I am pretty honest about this. I say it a lot. I don't have time to watch anybody really. I used to watch a lot of channels when I wasn't as busy, but now I don't have much time. I do try and go in George the Antique Nomad. I think that man is a walking encyclopedia. So George is one that I do. And I will try and go in the live chats if I see him on, if I happen to be on YouTube, just to kind of interact, and be active in the reseller community on YouTube other than like my own shows. But as far as pre-recorded videos, I do not have time. I just don't. I'm too busy doing stuff. And I used to watch reseller content, have it playing when I drove. Well, now I don't drive to work every day. I'm actually rarely in a car. And like when I drove up to Greenville, South Carolina, I was listening to motivational speakers. I think mindset is super important. Evan Carmichael's channel is one of my favorites because he has a bunch of different people on it. I love Les Brown. I love Steve Harvey. I love Oprah. They're some of my absolute favorites as far as mindset and positivity. And through that, I've learned like the biggest impact of that. And with a bigger channel comes more negativity. You get more haters. Is that like other people's opinion of me is none of my business. And I remember that all the time. It doesn't matter what other people think of me. I need to know what I'm doing and that I'm good at it. And I think that's really important in the reseller community because a lot of people's like family and friends are not supportive of reselling. They don't see it as a real job. They don't believe in them. So I think having the I can do it mentality will change your business. Like if you can make the sales, you will make them. It will help you. So that is what I choose to watch and listen to more than anything.
Kat, can I tell a story?
Go ahead, Geno. Yeah.
I'm going to vouch for Kat that she doesn't watch many channels. When I made her the super chat, I sent her an email.
I told on myself for this too.
What? I didn't hear you.
I said I told on myself for it, but yes, go tell the story.
So I sent her an email and said, and I didn't want to tell her what it was because it was a present, a surprise. And she wrote back, I don't have time to watch channels. I get a lot of people sending these to me. So I wrote again, and I said, please just open it. She wrote back again, I don't have time, maybe later.
I don't lie. Like, if you guys ask me to watch, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I'm going to watch because I don't have time to.
So I said, this girl's tough to give a present to. I bet on Christmas Eve when Santa comes down the chimney, she punches him. I mean, this is tough. So I wrote back the last time, and I wrote, it's only 9 seconds long. Please look at it. And that's the one she uses now.
It was my new super chat. It was my new super chat he made me. And like, but I don't want to show like any favoritism. Like, I don't have time. I don't have time to watch them. And I will not do not ask me my opinion if you do not want it. I am very blunt and I am very honest, and I will tell you exactly what I think, whether it'll hurt your feelings or not. And I think some of my members in the eBay store reviews know that, but I'm trying to help them and make them better. Just like with Geno, I'm like, no, I don't have time. Because I don't want to blow smoke up anybody's rear end and lie to them so they think I'm watching them. I don't have time. Absolutely don't. I don't have time to do what I need to do, let alone watch videos, or I'd never get anything done. And Dalton is in the shed a lot of times with me when I'm listing, so he puts on Peppa Pig. I get overruled when we're in the shed. Deborah says on Whatnot, do you have to register to buy, or like different for buying from selling? I bid on an item tonight, but it didn't register. So if you're accepted to sell, I think the big thing, Deborah, is you have to enter your payment information. So I would go to your account, make sure the payment information's in, because Whatnot automatically collects the payment. So if you didn't have a payment method in, I could see why it wouldn't, like, it might not accept your bid if that was the case. Christopher wants to know what got us into reselling.
Oh, that's a great question. So for me, I mean, it was just a yearning to do something where I was in full control. I think, like working corporate and working for someone else all the time, and just kind of wanted to be able to build something where the more you put into it, the more you get back. That just kind of seemed like, I don't know, such an attraction for me, where, you're really in full control of what comes back to you. And if you get creative, if you find a great source, if you build a great network, if you, learn a new category that can bring you kind of, new opportunities, the opportunity is endless, really. And it's just up to you and your creativity and your hustle to get there. So that challenge really interested me in the start. And so that's kind of where it started for me.
I started to watch Storage Wars on TV. And I said, this sounds like fun. I'm going to try it. And I started to go out, and it's tough because there's little clicks in Storage War in bidding, but you end up getting in the click and you start winning rooms. And all you got to do is find your first expensive item and you're hooked on it. And then after that, really quick, Storage Wars Miami started, and they picked me as an extra on the TV show. So now I was triply hooked. I just loved it. And I just had a lot of fun with it. And 3 hernias later, I said that I'm not lifting couches anymore. And I started to go thrifting, which is just as much fun. It's treasure hunting.
For me, I had a tough upbringing, so I needed to do something to stay away from drugs and doing bad things. So I started selling at flea markets at like 19. Loved it. I was doing really good. On top of my other jobs I was doing. On the tool side of it, I went to an auction and I had $320 in a Kia Optima, and decided to go to a tool auction and tried to fit everything in my car that was 70 miles away without my springs breaking out. Did it, went back home, went to the flea market the next morning, made $900 off of that, ended up making $3,000, and I've been hooked on the tools ever since.
Yeah, so I grew up with an older brother. He was over 20 years older than me, and he was a big flea market flipper. And so I grew up with him buying like U-Hauls full of just junk. I want to say junk because I remember it was a bunch of junk. And I like that. And I started like reselling, like I'd buy big jugs of candy at Sam's and sell them by the piece at school. So I've been into reselling for a long time. And then I started on eBay in 99 when I had my oldest son, my 22-year-old, because I was staying home with him. So I started reselling then. And then I've done it off and on until currently. And the reason now is to be able to be home more with Dalton and spend more time with him. And nursing was getting a little bit stressful. So Miss Sue says, what is the furthest you've gone to get amazing things to resell?
Furthest you've gone? Wow. Okay. Nothing insane is coming to mind for me. But I mean, one of the like estate sales, I always find like a little bit tricky for me in certain ways. There was one that was an Egyptologist, who had probably 3,000 books about Egypt in his home. And so going in there and walking out with kind of carts full of books, I guess, was a kind of an interesting environment to be in. And we did quite well. But yeah, at the same time, I kind of, it was my first estate sale. So that's probably why I felt a little bit strange about doing it. But not that there's anything wrong with it at all. But that was one that was a bit of a kind of a different environment for me.
I live in the Villages of Florida, which is North Florida, and I'll take like a map and an hour and a half. I'll travel to go to any kind of thrift store or something I see is good, even a community sale. But also, I do something that most people don't. I do Uber, really part-time, like super part-time. But when I'm in a mood, I'll just turn on the Uber, and wherever the ride takes me, that's where I'll thrift. So that's always fun. One day it took me all the way to Kissimmee, Florida, which is what, 2.5, 3 hours. And I started to thrift down there. So yeah, anywhere I'll go, but I'm not going to walk.
I set my auction zip for 250 miles. And I don't head out that way often, but if there's a really good auction, I'm going. And on the other side of it, there was a flea. I lived in Rhode Island, and there was a flea market that was in Jersey, and I would sell there every 5 weeks or so.
Sorry, I'm coughing. I went to Birmingham, Alabama. I did a video, depending on how long you've been watching me, because somebody emailed me. I've had emails from all over the country of people offering me stuff. And the one in Birmingham actually burned me because she didn't have as good of stuff as she let on. So I ended up thrifting in Birmingham, and that has been one of my favorite places to thrift is in Birmingham, Alabama. And it was mostly clothes. I'm not a big clothing seller, but they had 99-cent tag days at like 4 thrift stores there. And I got some amazing pickups for $1. So that's the furthest that I've went with the intention of getting something amazing that turned out not so amazing. But I'm like Leroy. I set my auctions on 250 miles, but I typically won't go more than like 150. Like I know where the cities are. But if I'm scrolling through and I see something that looks really amazing, I might go. The last one I went really far was actually Sanibel Island, which makes me want to cry when I think about it right now. That island was completely destroyed by Hurricane Ian. And it's one of my favorite places to go. So Fort Myers and Sanibel are about 5 hours from me. And I knew I loved Sanibel, so I picked up at an auction 5 hours in Fort Myers, stayed the weekend in Sanibel, and then came home. So 5 hours is probably the most, unless I saw something amazing. But if somebody emails me about stuff, I'm going to require like a video chat next time and really see more before I go driving off for 8 hours. I do not know the question to this. I do not know or the answer to this. I don't know if anybody else does. Cheryl wants to know, is there an option on eBay to choose a regular letter, a forever stamp as a thing Well, there is that option, Cheryl, but you wouldn't have tracking, I guess would be the answer to that, right? Except for cards, sports cards.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I think if you don't see it in the options on eBay, you could try like Pirate Ship or Stamps.com or one of the other services with your eBay account. But yeah, you won't have tracking no matter what way you go about it, I guess.
I don't forever stamp. You must be 1 ounce items you're mailing. I don't know what. I don't think you can. I've never seen
Well,
that.
she said like cards and stickers, so yeah, they are less than 1 ounce.
Then you'd have
But
to send
I charge people first class, Cheryl. Like even on my Harley pins that weigh an ounce, I just charge them first class because I want to be able to print my label at home and I want to be able to have tracking.
Me as well. I'll just do the minimum that that the postal service does through eBay, and it has tracking.
Yeah, that's what I do. Eileen says, I had 3 BS returns this week. 2 were not the item I sent, and 1 was just fishing for more money and didn't start a return yet. I haven't responded. What would you do?
Yeah, this is a tricky one, Eileen. But it's going to get to a point, unfortunately, where you'll probably spend too much money trying or too much time, trying to fight some of these things. So it really depends on how expensive the items are. But sometimes, depending on what scale you're working at as well, you should, just submit claims and then move on, unfortunately, which I think is not what a lot of people want to hear. But, when it comes to my business, I just take some of this stuff on the chin a little bit, because you do get returns, you do get fraudulent buyers who send you back the wrong items. You do get, inventory that you buy getting damaged when you're ordering it. You do get, there's always going to be stuff that costs you a little bit of money in a reselling business. And, if you fret too much about it, it could slow you down. It could make you lose some of your enjoyment in the business. It could make you lose some of your momentum that you might have had recently. And, it might damage more than anything. So for me, the way I like to look at some of these things is to just move on and take it as a cost of doing business. But depending on the cost, I would at least raise cases with eBay and try and fight them.
Yeah, I agree. What are you going to do? I've never gotten an item back that was different than what I sent, but I've had a lot of people fishing for money. That's for sure. I'm going to return this. And then they hope you say, well, I'll give you another $20 off or 20% off. And all of a sudden they accept it and they move on. So either you want it back or you don't. It's really a tough call sometimes. If it's cheap enough and 10% or 20% is going to be another $2, I'll just give it to them and move on.
If anyone says to me that they haven't received it or something like that, most of my items I don't pay anything for. I pay money for them, but it's real minimum. So I just refund them so I can keep getting good feedback. And I tell them to keep the item or throw the item away. I've had people, like fraud, send me back something that they really didn't even get. I don't take it to heart because I make really good money on other items.
Yeah, and I agree. And I've actually been having this conversation with someone on Facebook. And it's hard. I get that it's hard if you're small and you're new, like it's a hit. But it is part of doing this business. You're going to get returns. You're going to get the BS. And I just take it as a cost of doing business. If you have to think you're going to be out the shipping to them and the shipping back. So is that item worth it? That would be question number 1. Question number 2, as far as they're fishing for money, that's simple. I tell them I don't do partial refunds. They can send the item back. And a lot of times they disappear after that because they're doing just that. They're fishing for more money. When you tell them, no, you have to return the item, they go away. So, and somebody left me a neutral feedback for doing exactly that because I had incorrectly labeled the stone cut of a ring, and they said this ring is not this cut. I'm like, it's the ring that was pictured. I'm sorry if I described it incorrectly. You can send it back. I'm happy to get it back.
He's breaking up.
Yeah.
Oh, she's speaking in tongue.
Can you hear me now, Geno?
Yes,
Yes.
I can. I understood you
My
before. I speak in tongue too.
So some stuff, if it's really cheap or if it's my mistake, if I know it's my mistake, I'll just give them the money sometimes because it's not worth it. But don't let it get to you because it will derail you. Like Shane was saying, you'll lose momentum. You'll lose time that you could be listing because you're getting mad. Go listen to some motivational speakers and let it go. Just let it go. And it takes a long time to learn to be able to let it go, like we're all saying we do. Because it used to get to me. It used to get to me, but it does not anymore. Raining Retro wants to know, do you ever go back to unsold items, so items that have been listed, and check comps to see if you need to modify the price?
Let me just make sure I understand this. So go back to unsold items of our own.
I think so.
Okay.
Yes.
I see. Okay. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. So when you set the initial price of something, it's just a moment in time and it could change. And with other platforms, you might see a lot of resellers talk about repricing tools and different things. Amazon, it's very, very common to have a repricing tool kind of automatically doing some of this stuff for you. But on eBay, especially with kind of vintage items, thrifted items, different things like that, it's much more, it's less common to have, some sort of automated repricer or automated way of keeping your prices valid. So I definitely think it's worth going back over every so often. You don't need to do it like too often because, you also need to make sure you're letting stuff sit for long enough for the sale. And, you might get into a habit of checking your prices every day, which is not really recommended. For me, I mean, every couple of months, I would definitely look back and check, are there stuff that's been sitting for the last 4 to 6 months? And I might adjust it a little bit and just check the comps again and adjust it accordingly.
Me too. Every 4 months, I'll go back and do pricing and see why isn't this selling. But I'll tell you what, I find out more than it's the price, because usually prices stay fairly stable unless it's a collectible. I spelled something wrong, and I think I check it every time, and then I'll go back. Why hasn't it sold? It's been 5 months and I spelled the word wrong, So you got to check for a lot of things if the item isn't selling.
Yeah, me as well. I forgot what I was gonna say. Go ahead, Kat.
I am the opposite because excuse me, because I have 6,500 items. So the reality is I can't go back and check the price of all of them. I will on some higher priced items. If I, notice like I've had it forever, I will recomp. And when I say that, I mean like $200 and higher. But if it is like anything less than that, which is most of my items, I don't have the time. I have too many listings to have the time to do that, unfortunately.
Can I go back to my answer?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I just lost track. Well, like I had said before, guys, what I do is every day I try to go into one of the bins or the next bin that's in line, see what's listed, and like those guys said, check the heading, make sure the spelling's correctly and stuff like that. So I only have 800 in my store, or something up to 800 in my store, so that gives me a little bit more room to be able to do something like that. But somebody like Kat that has so many, it is really hard to do that.
Yeah, it would take all year and I'd never get anything listed if I was like going back and rechecking. So I think it really depends on the quantity, like how many items you have in your store. Just Fabulously Thrifty says, do you use a P.O. box or your home address for your online sales?
Home address for me.
Home address.
I use a P.O. box or the home address. I switch back and forth.
So I used my home address when I was just a regular seller. Now that I am out here on social media as much as I am, I use a P.O. box. So I actually got a P.O. box when I got about 500 subscribers. I decided to make that investment. So if you're just selling, you're not like all out there on social media, I would use your home address. I just did it because of how much I'm on social media. Raining Retro, North Carolina. What type of item do you keep buying even though it doesn't make you enough money?
Yeah, so for me, I mean, I'm very focused on the Lego category or Lego brand. So there are obviously some sets. So with my business model, the way it works is you try to kind of figure out which sets are kind of going to grow the most in value, because I'm kind of banking on that growth after the set is no longer manufactured. It starts to grow in value because it comes scarce. So for me, it's just trying to figure out which ones are most likely to grow the most in value. I'm trying to double my money in a year. So after a year after a set has retired, which sets are most likely to have doubled in value, or actually beyond that, because I want the fees to be also paid, 100% return on investment after fees are paid. So there's definitely some sets, some items within the world of Lego that that I'm kind of a sucker for a little bit, that I keep going back to, probably because maybe there's some other benefits to them, like maybe they're easy to store and ship, or easy to source in bulk or in scale or at scale, that maybe they don't have enough of a profit margin individually. So there are kind of some reasons that you would do items that aren't making you enough money, but those are some examples for me.
I don't know, because if I buy an item 2 or 3 times and it doesn't sell, I don't buy it anymore. So I wouldn't keep buying much. But I know every once in a while you buy an item and you say, well, it's easy to ship. Well, if you don't sell it, who cares if it's easy to ship or not? So you just got to pass on the items are just dead inventory and move on.
Mine are tools. I could make a lot more if I didn't stay in tools. The tools that I sell mainly used hand tools. But it's my passion, and I do pay my bills with it, so I just stick with it.
Yeah, I pretty much, I mean, I do a lot that I don't make a ton on, but I do it in bulk and I do it in like mass quantity. So for me, it's the lots. The lots, individual items don't make much. They might make $2 or $3, but the lot makes $2,000 to $3,000. So I look at the bigger picture versus the individual items. I will pay up a little more if I like stuff because I'm okay looking at it, but I still make a little bit of profit, and I enjoy the item and kind of want to rescue it. Beachwalker 22. What are the steps to take if you think the post office or the buyer damaged an item in a package? I don't know which it is, but I don't know how to proceed in this case.
Yeah, I mean, I would just raise it with the post office. You'll have your tracking information, hopefully, from the sale, and just raise it with them. Depending on what method of shipping you use, you may have some insurance on it. It just depends on the one that you selected. But yeah, that's what I would do.
I gave up making claims at the post office. You could grow wings before you'll get money from the post office. So
yeah, it's way different than it used to be.
Yeah, I try not even to fight that battle because I usually don't win. Unless I really know that I really know they just totally trashed it and I can prove it, or I'll bring it into my local post offices. I go there so much that they do try to go a little bit further and help me out. But like these guys said, it's a losing battle.
Yeah, I would let it go. I would refund the buyer and I would let it go. That comes back to the whole, like, it's cost of doing business, and you're, wasting more energy and time than it's worth, because you can't prove that either one did unless the box is like ravaged. And even then, if it's under $100, because it is so difficult now to file the USPS claim and get it approved, I would just refund them and, take it off as far as a loss for the business on my taxes. It's just not, unfortunately, it's very, very hard to win a claim with the post office now. Yes, very, very hard. Ree Lowry says, does your store name need to reflect what you sell?
I think this also kind of depends on what platform you sell on. Certain platforms, branding is a little more important than others. Poshmark, for example, I think it goes a little further because you're building a little bit of an audience around your store. And eBay is kind of somewhere in the middle, where store is not that important. Store, like name, but also branding around it, is not that important. But some people do, go and look at what you have, your entire store, and kind of follow you and different things like that. So it could help in those cases. Amazon, Walmart, some other platforms, it's just not important whatsoever. You're just joining a long list of other sellers on a listing, and it just doesn't matter. But for eBay particularly, I think it just depends, and it can help, but I don't think it's going to be substantial.
I agree. I just named my eBay store after my channel, Geno's Finds. I don't think it matters, and I don't sell Geno's, and I don't sell Finds. So I didn't name it after that. And I sell a lot of everything, so I couldn't name my store after what I sell.
I don't agree with that, but you also have to be careful as a new seller. If you did do something like that and say you put clothing, but then you got a great haul on something else and you totally switched your model to selling tools, now you have Leroy's clothing, but you sell tools. So try to keep it basic.
Yeah, I agree. Like Geno said, I'm not selling nurses. And I don't think, I don't really pay that close of attention to the seller name when I'm buying. So I don't think, I think for a lot of us on social media, our name's the same because we want to have our branding uniform across all the platforms. But I really don't think it's important because, like Leroy said, you might switch what you're selling and then you would have to change it. So you could, but I don't think it would help. Backpack Baby says, when experiencing bad weather for a few days and your power goes out, do you extend your shipping time, or what would you do?
That's tricky because you could extend your shipping time, but it's not going to take effect that same day. So orders that you have that day, you would probably have to figure out how to fulfill them, depending on what scale you're at. If you have a handful of orders, it could be pretty damaging to not fulfill them. I think you'd need to figure out how to fulfill today's orders. But then for the next couple of days, you could put your store on vacation, or you could extend your handling time. One of those two things.
I live in Florida, and so does Kat, so she would know. If it's a hurricane, usually eBay will just say, we're not going to penalize you for shipping late. Yeah. But if it's like an outage in your town, just pack the stuff in the car, drive to the next town and mail it. I mean, once it's sold, you can't tell the guy, well, I meant a week shipping time. You're going to have to keep your word a day. I ship the next day. So I have to send it out.
If it's that bad, I've never had that case, but I've heard of people just notifying eBay and letting them know, sort of what you're going through, what it is, power outage or tornado or something like that. So they have an idea, and you don't keep getting hits, so you don't get a lot of negatives.
Yeah, I agree. So if you knew the bad weather was coming, like the hurricane, I extended my shipping for 5 days when we were in the center of the cone for Hurricane Ian. And then once I saw it was turning, I changed it back to 1 day. So when I thought I was going to get hit by it, I had it on 5 day. And then I changed it back. But eBay, if it's a natural disaster where it's a large group of people, if it was a tornado or a hurricane or something like that, whoa, my phone started talking to me. Then eBay will protect you if it's a natural disaster. If you're up north and a snowstorm or something is coming, then I would extend it as soon as you thought that it might be coming towards you. I would extend it, and then as soon as you're clear, you can change it back. That's what I would do. Katie are you there? I see Beachwalker. You are there. I love you, Katie. Beachwalker sent a $5 super chat and said, thank you for all your time and advice. I feel better. I'm trying. I've been feeling better, and then Dalton brings home a new bug, and then I feel better. Brad and I both feel like it's never going to end. It's super stressful to be sick so much. It's very stressful and you can't think. And yeah, so thank you so much. I appreciate it. Here is your Geno's Dolphin. Geno makes everybody dance.
Yes, and that took, remember, 3 emails for her to answer that.
Listen, buddy. Christy Kilmartin said, do you recommend a new eBay seller to have no returns? Is Shane muted?
Yes, Shane's muted.
Oh, my apologies,
I'm like,
folks.
is it just me?
Sorry.
I was reading his lip.
I don't think returns are as important to worry about as some of the other metrics when you're a new seller. I think things like not being delayed with your shipping, like fulfilling on time, not having, like basic, like negative feedback and problems with your shipping are more important. I think you could offer returns. It's totally up to you. I personally wouldn't worry too much about that and would just focus on selling more. Even if you do have a little defect in the start, sell more. That's just the way around it, right? It just keeps selling. And I wouldn't worry too much about it.
If you offer no returns and they want to return it, eBay makes them, you got to take it back anyway. So you might as well offer returns.
I try to, if I get a return or a request for a return, I try to see why they want to return it or what's wrong. I try to get back to them as soon as I can. And if I know that I have to give them their money back, I try to give them the money back as soon as I can. It just eliminates a lot of headaches in my eyes.
Yeah, I recommend you have returns because of exactly what Geno said. So if it is item is not as described or item does not work, eBay is going to force you to take a return anyways.
Yeah.
So in my eyes, you might as well turn them on because if they want to make you take one, they're going to make you take one anyway. So you might as well. All right, I'll take this one since I guess I'm the only whatnotter here. Susie Florida says, if one doesn't have a following, is it a waste of time to sell on Whatnot? So lucky Dawn at Sanford and Son on Whatnot gets a free commercial for me every time this question is asked. So I met Dawn. Her name on Whatnot is Sanford and Son. How can you forget that? I used to love that show. So I remember the name. I was very surprised because she has the same amount of followers as I do on Whatnot, and she does not have any social media presence, none, 0. But she has an amazing personality. She's a good seller. She has fun with the people watching, and her audience has steadily grown, and she had no following. So is it a waste of time? In my opinion, if you have a good personality, and that is it's super important. You have to have a good personality, be fun, interact with the audience. You can build a following on Whatnot. People will talk. I've probably put her above me in followers talking about her because I really like her because her shows are fun. She has a great personality. And she had no social media following. So I don't think it's a waste of time. I think you probably could count on some losses as you're building your Whatnot following and, offer good stuff at a low price or maybe break even just to kind of build up the following. But I think it can be done. And I say that because I have seen people that have done it. And I've also seen people with social media followings not doing as well as I would think they do. In particular, do not offer my old inventory on Whatnot. I source just for Whatnot, and it is new inventory. So I think what you're presenting and offering, people see. So if you're offering a bunch of crap, then you're not going to grow. And if you're offering good items at good prices, then you will grow. If you have there are some people that are so flat on Whatnot. They're like, hey guys, does anybody want this? And I'm like, oh my God, bye. And I don't like really loud, obnoxious. I'm not like the game. Some people like that, and that is on there. But I like more upbeat. I like moving fast, you know, so if I want to buy something, it's not taking 10 minutes to sell one item. But yeah, so I don't think it's a waste of time. I don't think it's a waste of time as long as your personality is, you know, made for live selling and you have good items. Patricia wants to know, is one day shipping eBay is recommended? I think you have to do one day to have top rated plus, I think. Not just top rated, you don't have to have one day. Is that right?
I think it's two days.
Okay.
Don't hold me to that though. So I'm not sure what the actual question is. So is the question, you know, do I have to, like, do we recommend one day shipping?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think, like, I really think that each person should make sure that your reselling business fits in around your life. And it's difficult in the beginning to really kind of hone in on your processes for fulfilling orders. You know, if you have a full-time job and you're doing this on the side and different things like that, you know, it can get very stressful to fulfill orders. So I think it's important to give yourself the space that you need in the start, and don't worry too much about your metrics and top seller status. Worry more about growing your business to a point where you enjoy it and you like it. Give yourself the space that you need. And if that's 2 days or 3 days for fulfillment, then that's what I would do for me personally. When you have your processing, your order fulfillment processes down to a T, then you can try to increase it to 1 day.
I do next day shipping, but I'm retired, so I can get to the post office pretty much whenever I want. And like I said, I'm in the villages, so I make it a game. I try to cut off all the golf carts as I get to the post office.
Listen, if you don't know about the villages, like, there are more golf cart parking spots than there are car ones.
Yes,
I went to the McDonald's and I could not find a parking spot because it was all for golf carts. Like, Geno is not kidding. Like,
no, I'm not. I'm done.
Leroy, what say you?
Okay, I'm sorry.
I interrupted the flow of things there. Sorry, Leroy.
So I actually have 3-day shipping, but I ship out every day, twice a day. I'd rather have that safety net. So if something does happen and I can't get it there, I'm not going to be behind. But it also helps me because inside my my feedback, it's constantly fast shipping, well packed, fast shipping, well packed. So I rather take that 3 days and bump that down than make my feedback look so good.
Yeah, and for me, I do 1 day because I want the top rated plus to get the 10% discount, because I pay over $5,000 a month in eBay fees typically, $3,000 to $5,000. So 10% is $300 to $500 off a month. So that's why I do it personally. If you don't have a big store, I don't think it would, you know, make that much of an impact. But I agree with what, like, Shane and Leroy are both saying, that if, you know, depending on what's going on in your life, if you need more days, take it. Don't, like, under promise and over deliver. If you don't know you're going to get there every day, there's any question, I would set it to 2 or 3 days and not worry about the 10% discount. But, like, we know we go every day. I know I'm going, like, there's a fly. This is my job, you know, this is my only job. I don't have another job. So, I know I can get there every day. I wanted to put this up. Ren Gregory said, thank you to whomever blessed me with a membership. It was John Moore from More Income. He did 2 sets of 5 people. So, John, thank you again. You're amazing. John has been around since the beginning of my channel as well. John has some good content on other stuff too, like Uber and different ways to earn money. And he's on YouTube, and John is on Instagram as well. John Moore, Moore. If you guys are not following him, check him out for sure. He's a great guy. Mitzi Brown is watching over on Facebook. So hi to all our Facebook people as well. We stream to YouTube and Facebook. Do you monitor the number of views on your items? And does that data point matter in regards to sales?
Yeah, it definitely matters. So the way you can think about but that data point is that if you think of if you think about digital marketing, if you're putting content up on YouTube or Facebook, it's kind of a similar thing. You're going to want people to basically see your stuff, and then they're going to want to click into it, and then they're going to want to engage with it. It's the same thing with eBay when it comes to some of those metrics, where you can see how many times has your item showed up in a search result. Because the reason it's important, because if your items are showing up in search results but no one's clicking them, then there's probably something wrong with your title, right? With the thing that's showing up. People are less interested in actually viewing your item, which is a really interesting data point for you to go and take action on, right? Because now you can go and improve your title to increase your click-through rate, right? The number of people who actually see your item and click and look at your listing. Once they're on your listing, then the number that becomes more important is the actual sales number, right? It's like how many people who are on your listing actually bought it. But the number of views and then the clicks, the views on the listing versus the number of times you appeared in search results is important for your optimizing your titles and your images as well.
I look at my views because I want to know how many times people are watching. The more people that watch, the better chance you have to sell. But I like my watchers more than my views. The watchers mean people are interested. So I put more value on how many watchers I have over how many views I have. Just the way I do it.
I honestly just try to get things listed, and I don't really pay attention to that. I just make sure when I do list it, I usually pull it off of something else has been already listed. That's where I get my heading from and everything. Just so most of it should be right because someone else has already sold it.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to views at all. I don't think the view count is accurate a lot of times because I sell a lot of things with 0 views. So I don't pay attention. And I know a lot of people that kind of obsess over it and spend way too much time on it. So I do look at the impressions like Shane was talking about, like to see how many times I'm getting shown, but I don't look at it on the individual items. I look at my store metrics, not individual items, because I don't care if it has 1 view or 100. If it's not selling, it's not selling. That's how I look at it. And again, for me, I would rather put the energy into making new listings than looking at that. But I'm like keyword guru. I'm big on keywords. So that helps with the impressions. And I don't put a ton of stock into the impressions as long as my sales are where I want them. I do want to say that. So like, let me look. I think I'm down right now. Not a ton. Let me see. I'm down 9%. I'm almost at 14,000 this month. I'm down 9% from last month. And we were averaging 10,000 a month last year. So we're up almost 4,000 from last year. So as long as my numbers are up, I'm fine with that. This is for Shane. Katrina Watson wants to know, how do you decide which Lego? So look, Shane, you get to talk more about Legos now. Which Lego is the right one to sell?
Wherever the opportunity arises. Yeah, Katrina, it's a great question. The first thing that I do is make sure that it's retiring soon. Retiring means that Lego Group are not going to make it anymore. It's the manufacturing is stopping. Most Lego sets are on the shelves for around 2 years before they are they're not manufactured anymore. And after that happens, then the value will start to rise on Amazon, eBay, everywhere, basically. So I look for stuff that's retiring soon. Usually you can find lists online. It's kind of, underground lists, but a lot of the time they are pretty accurate. And I focus on that list. That we call it the retirement list. And then I also try to pick a theme to focus on. So Lego is kind of broken down into what they call themes. Like there's Lego Minecraft, there's Lego Star Wars, there's Lego, all these different themes of sets. And I just pick one that kind of is interesting to me. But also I just look at some comps. Sets that retired 2 years ago, what are they selling for on eBay today? And you'll notice that it's like 2 times the retail price or 3 times the retail price. Do that for a handful of sets, and then you'll start to figure out what does well and what grows in value a lot and what does not. That's kind of a good starting point.
Perfect. Good answer. Belinda wants to know if anyone on the panel if any of us have purchased or do purchase liquidation pallets, and if so, any tips on how to go about it.
I've never done liquidation pallets. No, I've done, like I mentioned earlier, I did pallets of used books, but not liquidation specifically.
I don't buy liquidation pallets. I used to go to an auction house and bid on, their pallets or boxes and get a group of stuff and try to sell it, but not like Kat does. She actually buys the pallets. I don't do that.
I don't at all. I feel like some of that stuff, especially as a new seller, you need to be very careful because you're tying in more money than you really can spend right now. And for me, buying piece by piece, knowing what I have, maybe already comped it, is the better route for me.
So I used to, and I decided it was not a good business practice for me. So I could tell you places to buy them. I will also tell you I have a ton of stuff still sitting here 3 years later from pallets that is not sold. So liquidation pallets typically are being liquidated for a reason, and that reason is typically that those items did not sell. So keep that in mind. Some store could not sell those items. That's why they're being liquidated. And that doesn't mean you won't get good items. And I try to talk about this on my videos because I'm still selling pallet stuff 3 years after I stopped buying them. I would be in the profit pretty fast. And like Shane was talking about the time with books, the time is the same with liquidation. You still get damaged stuff. You still get stuff missing pieces. And it's a lot of time to go through and sort through. And if they're unmanifested, you have no clue what you're getting, which I like the gambling aspect of it. I think that's why I did pallets for a while, because I was hoping I would have that one amazing thing in the pallet. But I know like bulk.com is one of the ones I used. I can't even remember the names of the other one, but I bought directly from like Macy's and JCPenney's and Walmart. I would buy directly from them. But I would say over 50% of it is dead stock for a reason, because it was crap and nobody wanted it. So beware of that if you want to do it. There are a lot of people that are successful at it. Search on YouTube for them. A lot of people are successful with it. Me, again, I like the one-off items. I buy a ton of lots now. But they are lots of stuff that I like. And they are from estate auctions. They are not liquidation that nobody else wanted to buy. So I would just caution you, but there are a lot of people that's all they do. So there are successful people at it. I know like Amazon return pallets could be very lucrative, but if you're on the East Coast, you're kind of SOL because Amazon warehouses are typically on the West Coast. So to get Amazon pallets to the East Coast, you're going to pay more in shipping than the pallet cost. Unless you're going to a bin store or hand picking them, like those people are buying semi trucks of pallets. But so if that's what you want to do, find somebody on YouTube that does it and is successful at it. But I would say be very, very cautious, very, very cautious. And you're going to put a lot of money in for a chance at making a good return. Mark, OG&Z, one of my other main moderators, sent a $5 super chat and said, not enough dolphins for this great panel. Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you and Marsha for helping tonight. What is that? Geno, are you making sound effects?
Yes, I was, because she said, what a great panel.
Richard is not here because he was traveling to like 4 a.m. So that's why Richard is MIA tonight. So here's some more dolphins for you, Mark. Yay, Mark. Here you go, Shane. Some more Lego questions. What is the best way to list a box of random Legos? By color.
Yeah, so there's a handful of different ways. There's a marketplace that a lot of people probably don't know about, but it's called Bricklink, and that's a Lego marketplace. So picture eBay, but specifically for Lego parts. The rare stuff is best to list there. So pull out the minifigures. They can go for good money, like Lego minifigures, and check the values on Bricklink. Also, you can check them on eBay, and then I would just list the rest of it in bulk by the pound. So look at what's the going rate for a pound of Lego on eBay, and I would list it there. unless you
So
know
you
that you've
don't
got
think they
post-it.
should waste the time separating the colors, Shane?
So no, no, I probably wouldn't. No, it'll take too
Okay.
long. If you wanted to get the most money out of it, you could some used Lego sellers say part out the parts, which is basically try to figure out what every single part is and catalog them on that marketplace called Bricklink. But it's a lot of work. You will sell a lot of stuff for good money, but it'll be a lot of work. So the easiest way to do it would be by the pound on eBay, but just make sure to try and check the values at least for the minifigures.
Perfect. Marcia, why are all my mods sending the super chats? What is going on here? I should be sending them super chats, even though that's not possible. Marcia is my other mod tonight, Red Cardinal Treasures. Thank you so much. Again, Marcia and Mark, thank you so much for helping moderate. John helps as well, John Moore, and thank you again, John, too, for the gifting of the memberships. Marcia, here is your dolphin. Look, John's even like bribing people to hit the like button and he'll buy more memberships. John, you're amazing. Thank you. That's absolutely amazing. I appreciate it. Siggy, I see you, Scott. Siggy says, question on the eBay bubble mailer bags, do you black out the barcode on the bag so it doesn't interfere with post office readers?
So, blackout barcodes? No, I don't. No, I don't think I would do it. So this is, on bubble mailers that have a barcode on the actual mailer.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. The only time I black out barcodes is for Amazon FBA whenever I'm shipping stuff into Amazon because they specifically tell you to do it. But outside of that, unless I'm told, I'm not going to worry about it.
I source 90% of my boxes by driving around the neighborhood. In the villages, by the way, you can't use garbage cans, so you can see all the boxes, and I just go pick them up, and they all have the barcodes on them. And I used to go through magic markers, scraping them all off. And I said, let me go ask the post office. And I brought them in, and they said, no, it doesn't interfere with us. Don't bother. So they saved me a lot of time, and I saved a lot of money buying magic markers. So no.
Yeah, I don't mock them off. I do have a blocking tape that I use, so 3-inch blocking tape. If I do feel that a word or anything may cause issues with the post office, then I definitely will put a piece of that tape over it. But besides that, no.
Yeah, I don't cover it unless it's an old label. Then I'll either peel it off or cover it. And if you're using a liquor box, make sure you cover that completely because it's illegal to ship liquor interstate. So just be aware of that. All right. I see Scott and I see Noel too. Oh, yes, Geno.
Also, what I take off, when they have the batteries on the side of the used boxes, they won't ship them. So you got to make sure you cover those batteries.
Oh, yeah. I rip those off of my Amazon boxes too if it's a battery and I don't have a battery. Scott said he felt called out. So Scott would like Scott Cha-Ching King would like. Listen, I was advertising for Scott last night. I was live with Misty, Thrifter Junker, Vintage Hunter, and Michael, the Cult of Vintage last night on their 4-panel show, and I wore Scott's shirt the whole night. So I was advertising for Scott last night. Scott, thank you so much. Here is your dolphin. That took me 3 emails to see. I'll say it for Geno.
Okay, yeah. Now you get
Farm Girl, Scavenger, Miss Noel. Look, Geno's coming in with the sound effects tonight. Noel sent a 2022 super chat and said, here's your 2022 super chat, cat. That rhymes. For all you do and have done for everyone. Noel, thank you. So you just reminded me I haven't given away my free month of List Perfectly. So next Monday, I'll probably do that. Noel won my last month of free List Perfectly. I give away 1 free month every month. And I haven't done it yet for October. Noel won September. So Noel, here is your dolphin. Only Katie can see me dancing, and Julian when he's here in the background. Thank you, Noel. I appreciate it. Leroy, what are you doing? He's on the panel sending super chat. Leroy, would you like a Geno's dolphin?
No.
Okay. If you guys ever don't want the dolphin, look, Gino's booing you. Some people don't like the dolphin. If you don't want the dolphin, just tell me and I will not give you the dolphin. I will. What is it
I have a
called?
whole
Why
bunch of
can't I
tools
think of
I'd like
the
to
word?
give them. I really do. I can't sell them, and they're sitting in my garage. So I wish
So
you were
Leroy's supposed to come to Florida and visit us anyways. He can come to Florida
I'll
and
bring
get some
them to you.
tools. Miss Judy sent a $3 super sticker, so here is your dolphin. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Raining Retro North Carolina said, does the way you source change at certain times of the year?
Yeah. For me, definitely. If you do toys, then Q4 holiday season is the biggest kind of time of the year, both for buying and selling. It's a great time to get great deals, but it's also a great time for sales volume to pick up. If you sell on Amazon or Walmart, they go crazy during November, December timeframe. So you're going to want to source more inventory of the stuff that you're trying to get. Coming into the holiday season every year to get the deals and also have the inventory you need to sell. So toys as a category in general, Q4 huge for sourcing.
In Florida, it's usually warm all year round, so there's garage sales. So I don't.
Gino, it's getting down to 46 tonight.
Oh, okay, now I'm not going to source the garage sales. Then forget it.
41. 41 and then 36. Look at the weather for Florida, guys.
They said a cold front was coming in. Yeah,
it's coming.
So I don't change. Actually, I actually live in a decent area where I actually can, I can source pretty much year round. I usually try to take 6 weeks off in the real cold, like February and March. February and May or whatever I'm trying to say. February and April. Whatever.
Some cold months at the beginning of the year.
And then when it's really hot in July, those two little gray areas, if I don't have to, I won't because of the heat or because of the cold.
Yeah, and my primary means of sourcing is online auctions, so it does not change at all. Doesn't matter when it is, and it didn't matter when everything was shut down from COVID either. It didn't stop me at all. Flippin' Ain't Easy says where to find cheap packing peanuts in bulk. I will say real quick, I am anti-packing peanuts, so I don't know if anybody else can help.
Yeah, packing peanuts, I'm not sure. I don't personally use them. We do air pillows and bubble wrap and everything else. Packing paper, a lot of reused stuff from orders that we place. And air pillows is a really cheap way to do it. Just buy a machine for $120 probably on Amazon. But packing peanuts, I don't know. I can't answer.
I don't use packing peanuts unless I got it from something I bought off Amazon, and then I'll just throw them in the next box. But no, I don't use them.
I don't use packing peanuts, but what I do is I get a lot of my shipping stuff from Ashley Furniture. I have 2 friends that work there. So I go and they pretty much know now what I like. I like the foam paper and I like the bubble wrap. So I get a lot of my packing stuff from there.
Yeah, and I use packing paper, and the reason I stopped using packing peanuts is because when Dalton was like 1, he just liked to shred them everywhere, and they would make a giant mess. And then we had Jocelyn on, Crazy Lamp Lady, and she said she only used packing paper and bubble wrap, so I switched to that, and I've never had any issues. When I used to buy them, I think I bought them on eBay, and they would like come in a trash bag with a label, like a whole big old bag of peanuts. That's where I used to get them. All right, who do I see? I don't know who I see. I see 2 people. Reseller information. That's Eric. Eric, I didn't even need to read it to know it was you. He said, thanks for the whatnot super link tip. Got mine today. Eric, I'm super glad to hear that and glad that you got it. Here is your duffel. Gema Treasures, thank you. Greatly appreciated. $4.99 super chat. Here is your lots of dolphins. Thank you, Geno. Even though I didn't want to open it, here you go. Here, Gema. Yeah, so I just was asked where I get my packing paper. I get it on Amazon. I get like 1,000-foot roll, and we just leave it on the ground, and we pull it up from the ground and rip it off is how we do it with our Amazon. And it lasts, like, I only have to buy 2 a year, and I do a lot of packing. We send over 200 packages a week. So a lot of times we can do it with just the bubble wrap because the bubble wrap from American Bubble Boy is really cheap. So I use a lot of bubble wrap, and a lot of times I don't even need the paper. So yeah, where did it go? Margaret, I told Marcia to put John's link in the chat. And John, you are more than welcome to put your link in the chat as well. Thank you. And I see Marcia put it there. Susie wants to know, can a reseller write off trips to source?
Yeah, short answer is yes. I think anytime I'm asked any sort of question like this on my YouTube channel, I have to always caveat with we are not tax professionals and we do not give advice for taxes. But I personally write off my trips when it's for sourcing. And yeah, there's all sorts of, depending on where you are in the world, there's all sorts of different rules around, weekends. You could travel somewhere and source and then still take a day off over the weekend and you could still write off the trip. But again, look into your tax laws wherever you are. There are different things you can do. So yes, generally reselling trips, sourcing trips are business expense.
Yeah, my accountant does it for me, so I can't tell you much more about it. But I know he deducts for gas and depreciation on the car. And I don't know about staying in a motel room while I'm in Hawaii if I can deduct it. But little things they do take off. Yes, you can subtract it.
Yeah, same as those guys. You just you definitely can.
Yeah, so your primary reason for going has to be sourcing. So like my trip to Birmingham, I only went there to go see an estate, like collection, and I ended up sourcing. So my hotel, the 2 nights I was in Birmingham, were on my business account. But if I went to Birmingham to see a friend for the weekend and I happened to go to a thrift store or two, that would not count. So sourcing has to be, so Geno, if you go to Hawaii only to source,
okay,
then it would be tax deductible. But it all depends on what your primary purpose is. So is your primary purpose a vacation to Hawaii? Or is your primary purpose, I think I can get 500 Hawaiian shirts while I'm in Hawaii? So it just has to be your primary reason for going to wherever you go. Like all of like the reseller conventions and rallies, like all of that is tax deductible. So here's a question for Leroy. Cheryl says she found a Leviton electric plug that screws into a light fixture with a pull chain. One is yellowed at the female end. Do you think that is heat damage, and would you throw it out because of caution?
If the wire is deformed a little bit, definitely it's damaged. Any of that stuff you got to be careful with. Usually that vintage stuff does have some kind of damage. That's unless it was in the original box that that you found it in. But yeah, you got to be really careful. Sometimes it could be a wire nut piece that's on there, but just on the safe side, you could sell it as not tested or something like that, but be careful with that.
Yeah. Sarah says, how do we sell something that we are confident is legit, but there are no markings or identifiers on the piece?
Well, if you're confident that it's legit, then I would go ahead and list it. Markings and visual identifiers are not really mandatory if you're selling on eBay. You can take pictures, you can put in your description and your title, you can explain everything about the item. So if the question is more, you like if it's a branded item and you're not certain if it is the brand you think it is, you're confident it is, but you can't prove that it is. Yeah, I mean, you could call that out in the listing. Basically, that's the way I would do it. Is I would make a call out that the tag of if it's a clothing item, for example, and it was Nike, I would say tag has been removed or something to that effect, because people could be, when they receive it, they could be disappointed. I think you got to just think about what the buyer wants to see, and if they expect something on the item and then it's not there, you don't want them to be disappointed. So make sure to call it out in the listing. But if you are confident and you have your reasons for being confident, then I would go ahead and list it.
That's tough. If it doesn't have a brand name on it, well, I have sold stuff, but I always put probably this, could be similar to be on the safe side. But if you were 100% positive, then say it was real.
Yeah.
Sometimes I say to research stuff. I sell a lot of older tools, is most of the stuff I sell. And I've noticed that some of the stuff actually comes off the same line. But they might just they might just change the color of the handle, but it's actually everything else is the same from somewhere else. So just if you really think that it is what you're claiming that it is, try to do a little research. Sometimes it's made in a different branch or it's made a different year and it just didn't have the stamping for it.
Yeah, like for me, if I've found, or I get a lot of stuff from like expensive estates with collections from certain makers or stuff like that. And like if I know kind of like a provenance of where it's come from, then I would feel comfortable. If I'm not sure, like a lot of my glass ornaments, I was pretty sure were Di Carlini, were Italian. I put a question mark. Like I put a question mark after the name to indicate like, I'm pretty sure this is what this is, but I'm not 100%. So that's how I handle it. And I haven't had any issues with that. This is a funny question. Anne wants to know, what are her chances of finding someone to list for?
Very good. Yeah, I've hired people in our business to list. And I will say it's not easy. Hiring people in general is not easy, and managing people and teaching them is not easy, and setting up a compensation structure that works well for them is the hardest part, it's one of the hard parts, because your margins need to be pretty strong. You need to be able to sustain that. So you'll definitely find them. We did it on Craigslist. We did it on Indeed.com. And yeah, it's totally doable.
It's very doable, but don't call me because I'm busy enough. That's all I can say about that.
Yeah, I don't hire anybody to list for me. I just do it myself. I've had people that I've trained and tried to get people to help me, but it never works out.
So I will tell you, and I think everybody knows, I have multiple people employed for me. And I will tell you, I had a total of 22 listings put up last week with 3 employees. So my daughter-in-law has not listed in over 2 months. My friend that lists for me got a promotion at work. She hasn't been able to list for over 2 weeks. And my daughter had to go down south to help her great aunt with the hurricane cleanup. So she was down there for a while, and then she's helped me with whatnot. So like you can find someone. In Florida, legally, you cannot 1099 them. You have to pay a payroll company to pay them. So I want you to know that. You can't just like 1099 as an independent contractor, because it's your items. They're using your stuff to do the work. And I think that's the law in a lot of states. I tried hiring outside of friends and family, and I paid 4 people to train them that never came back. So I would say your chances are 50-50. That is what I would say. It's not easy. It's not that listing is hard. Like, my niece worked for me for a while. She found it boring. So if you don't like reselling, it's very redundant and repetitive, and a lot of people don't like that. So I think that's a lot of it. And, like, researching and finding a listing to sell is similar if they don't know the type of items you're selling. So, like, my niece would rather go clean houses than list items for me. And that's her choice. So you got to find the right person. And then a lot of people get mad because you essentially teach them your business. And if they're too motivated, they're going to go do it themselves because they're going to see how much money you're making. And I'm fine with that. Like, I'm fine with helping somebody find their own, like, way into the reselling. But it's hard. It's not easy. So like I said, we haven't had a ton of luck around here with that. Susan, anybody can list on Wholesale, just so you know. So if you go out and find a bunch of vintage hats, you can wholesale them on Wholesale. They do research. Wholesale researches to make sure the retail value or resale value is actually what you say it is, that you're not selling people a bunch of junk. They actually do, like, individually review each lot before they post it. See, look, Kathleen says Lego is what pulled her into the eBay rabbit hole.
That's awesome, Kathleen. That's awesome. So, yeah, there's no question, but yeah, it sounds like a Lego fan, maybe a Lego investing fan. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you've seen my content.
Oh, my mom, I'm scrolling. I made it farther than I made it last week. All of the ladies love your accent, Shane. I'm sure you hear that. I've read like 5 million comments saying that already.
Yeah, I'm from Ireland, if anyone was curious.
Yeah, I think a couple of them said it. Scott says, if you found something really valuable, would you post it on social media? Say if you found something worth $25,000 or more. Scott, what did you find? Would you post it on social media?
No, I probably wouldn't. No, I would just go straight to the marketplace sites, eBay. I get, like, it really just depends on your setup and what your social media presence is. And if you sell to your followers, then definitely you could. But, some people are probably going to expect, a deal. So selling to a stranger on eBay is probably an easier way to get what the item is worth. I think Kat will be able to speak a lot better to that than I will. But for me, I would just list it wherever it's most likely to sell for the amount that it's really worth.
I agree 100%. I would just list it or call Sotheby's. It was that expensive, but no, I wouldn't go on social media with it.
No, same with me. I would not. I would just list it on whatever I'd probably put it on more than one platform. Like, I just sell on eBay, but something like that, I'd want more eyes on it than just the one platform. But besides that, I wouldn't try to post it on social media.
Do you mean, like, would you talk about it on your YouTube? I would, because that's what I do. Look, I paid $1. It's worth 25 grand.
No, I didn't think she meant it that way.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. But if Scott, tell us what you mean. Katie, I don't know if you can watch the bottom of the chat. Scott, do you mean, like, would you post a YouTube video about it? Or do you mean, like, would you try to post it for sale on social media? So let's see what Scott says. I want to put this up. It doesn't say who you are, whoever you are on Facebook. It says, I want to see how you can see a repeat buyer. So when you go to your sold list, look, I have this one here right under what they bought. It says repeat buyer. So it'll tell you if they bought from you before. There's another repeat buyer. So there's another repeat buyer. They buy a lot of Kachinas from me. So it says it right under their purchase, or if they send an offer, because that makes me, sometimes I'll consider offers a little more if I see that they're a repeat buyer. So it pops up and just tells you, at least on the app. I think it does on the website too. I'm pretty sure.
Well, Kat,
I'm going to put this up. Marsha's posting. Marsha's first whatnot sale is tomorrow. She's selling jewelry just like I do. I think 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Marsha Red Cardinal Treasures. It's her first sale. It's her first sale. So if you guys are on whatnot, go over, check her out. She is doing her first whatnot sale. Does anyone here sell unvented?
Nope.
Never
I
heard
don't
of it.
either. So I haven't heard of it. So for me, if I can't cross post it with List Perfectly, I'm not putting it there. I hate to say that, but oh, that's so weird. Sean's saying she has to hit a pay button when she wins an item. I've never seen that. I have mine linked up to my PayPal is how I have mine. And I shop on there. I went and bought a couple of things last night too. I've been shopping. Does anybody have any suggestions on the best way to sell on Instagram?
Interesting. So Instagram, yeah, I mean, I've seen people do extremely well with Instagram. I think that there's hashtags become one of the most important thing, because when you put a hashtag on your Instagram posts, it's kind of like you're hanging out in a community in a way by making sure that your image gets dropped into that hashtag. So that's one thing, is to focus on your hashtags. And I would actually just try to find other people who are doing exactly what you want to do. So if you are selling sneakers, go find other people who are selling sneakers on Instagram and look at the way that they post and what's their hashtag strategy. Also, there's going to be some stuff that they do to grow their following. And there's little tricks that you can do on Instagram to grow your following. You know, one way is you could go and actually go to someone else who's doing what you want to do, selling the items that you want to sell, go to the people who follow them, and then start following and engaging with them. And they're going to start reciprocating and doing it back to you, so that, you get on their radar. Basically, you want to try and get in front of the people who are already engaging with other Instagram accounts that do exactly what you want to do. That's how I would go about it. I haven't personally done it, but that's how I would start.
I have very little luck on Instagram. What I do is put out a short, hope enough people see it, and send them to my YouTube channel, and then have them go to the eBay. I mean, I don't sell on Instagram, so I'm the wrong person to ask.
Yeah, I don't sell on Instagram either.
Yeah, and I think it really depends on your audience. So like, I've built an audience of sellers. I don't have an audience of buyers unless I was selling wholesale lots. So I post what I sold. So if I was trying to sell things, you could post and I see a lot of sellers do it, post new items that are for sale in your eBay store, throw up a reel of this is what's listed, some photos of it. And Shane's right. People follow certain hashtags. So if you're selling vintage clothes, put hashtag vintage clothes. Or for my jewelry sales, when I put my whatnot reels up, I'll put hashtag sterling silver sale or hashtag vintage jewelry sale. Instagram tells you how many people have posted about that hashtag. So if you just put the beginning of it, if I just put sterling, hashtag sterling, it'll pull up the top matches for that hashtag, and then you can figure it out. All right, so this is the last question, and it's a good one from Patty. She said, what are your 3 top tips for starting on eBay again? It has been almost 20 years.
3 tips. Okay, firstly, images are very, very important on eBay. So making sure that you have images and they don't need to be professionally photographed or anything, but definitely you have enough lighting in your image and it kind of pops a little bit. You don't have tons of clutter around the item, so if you can get a blank canvas or a blank something behind it. It could even just be a white wall or a wall behind it, but you don't want to have 10 items in the photograph. So just a couple of basic image photography things first. Second, try to list, and we mentioned this earlier tonight, but try to list consistently when you get started. Try to kind of do a little bit of listing every day or every week to make sure that your stuff stays relevant. And then third is to focus on your keywords and your titles and descriptions on the listing. There's a ton of different information you can put into an eBay listing. Some of them are much more important than others, but the titles, they don't only matter for matching or for showing your item in search results, but they also matter for people actually clicking on your item. And so they kind of, they're doubly important. So I would focus on that. And a way that you can do that is by just looking at other people who've already sold the stuff that you're selling and look at, what they're doing. How did they phrase their title? Where did they put the brand information? What words did they use in the title? And you can kind of mirror some of that stuff because obviously they're being successful with it if they're selling.
Wow. If I was gone for 20 years and getting back into eBay, I would just start really slow. Don't get yourself overwhelmed because then you'll end up being off for another 20 years. Also, like Jane said, you got to have good pictures and good descriptions, but don't overwhelm yourself. Start off easy. That would be my best advice.
Yeah, Shane pretty much wrapped it all up. But the only thing I could add to that is do something that you have a little bit of passion for. That keeps me going every day is what I sell, I enjoy.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, because I had over like a 10-year break between like when I was selling and when I restarted again, is that 20 years ago, auctions were the biggest thing on eBay. Like everything was auction. That is not the case anymore. The majority of stuff is buy it now. So I would really think long and hard before doing an auction. That would be the biggest, and definitely the keywords. I would think about promoting. If you're buying low and have room to promote, I think it really helps my sales. So I'd look into promoted listings. It used to be like, I remember I could get bumped to the top of the category for $9.99 on eBay. Like, so I could list 100. I sold plants. I could list 100 plants and pay $10 for the month and be like, everybody that went into the plants category saw my listing. But those days are gone. There's no like monopoly on it like there used to be back then. Other than that, I think everybody's kind of covered it. So I am going to make everybody big to tell you guys goodbye, let you know what they have coming up as far as videos or lives. And I thank all three of you for coming on for sure with me. Leroy, thanks for stepping in for Julian. He is on vacation next week as well. Let me look and tell you guys who is going to be on next week real quick. Next week is Mike January House and Joe Philly Picker and Lily Works. So Joe and Mike have been on, but Lily has not. So I'm trying to bring you guys some new faces and get you guys some different opinions. So here is Shane.
So this was a ton of fun. Thank you everyone for tuning in. So once again, I teach people how to invest in Lego sets. So Lego grows in value over time, and it's a great way to source items for resale because you can buy them at great prices when they're available and then just watch the price go up as soon as it retires. I teach people on my YouTube channel called Brick Bucks. So that is Brick Bucks. I put up videos every week and very easy to get involved. So make sure you head over there and subscribe.
Perfect. Here is Mr. Geno.
Well, first I want to thank Kat, and I think she did a good enough job that we should have her back next week. I think you did very good there, Kat. Also, I want to tell you that I put out a video every Sunday, and this Sunday is not because I'm on this show, is one of the funnier ones I've ever put out. I go thrifting with this girl, Anne, and she's in it, and she just steals the show, and it's very funny. So come over to my channel, Geno's Finds, and subscribe. And if you don't like what you see, then go to someone else's channel and unsubscribe from them. Don't unsubscribe from me. Okay, well, I'll see you Sunday.
Perfect. Here's Leroy.
I just want to say thank you to Kat. It was a pleasure finally getting to meet you. Me and Kat have been friends for a while, but being actually to meet her, give her a hug and say hello, means a lot, and coming back on the show so soon after that is amazing. For everybody in the chat, please feel free to message me if you have any questions about tools. That's pretty much my go-to. That's what I really enjoy. Not as good as Julian, but I do try to know some of the stuff. And if I don't know what I'm talking about, I ask him anyway. Thanks very much.
Perfect. All right. So I have to re-record my video for tomorrow because the power went out in the shed while I was recording my video. So I have to re-record it with my throat hurting and a bad voice. So my video tomorrow night is going. Now I'm trying to even remember. What did I do it on? Oh my gosh. My brain is fried. Now, hold on. I'm cheating. Oh, it's on cookie jars. Wednesday and Friday, both are videos on cookie jars. And then on Thursday, don't miss my Whatnot sale. If you're not on there already, I have my link tree in the description. I have necklaces worth $150, $200, $300. I'm starting at $10. So there's opportunities for resellers. I'm starting to catalog it. So if you want to research them, I cataloged 15 today. I'm going to try and get the rest done tomorrow. And everything will start at $10. So there are going to be some good stuff on there. And then my Friday video as well. And we're here every Tuesday. So again, thank you all for being here. We really appreciate it. Thank you to these guys for coming on with me. We will see you next Tuesday.